Okay, well, welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and we'd absolutely love it.
Boo! Boo!
Oh no!
Get off the stage! Boo!
Oh, throwing tomatoes and stuff like that. We'd love it if you'd like and share this video and subscribe to the channel and stuff. Like, it'll help us out and stuff, and give you a good warm feeling inside. You know you like that, right? And it'll give us a good green feeling in our wallets.
1/10 of 1 penny.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I am Casey Rochford, and you can go ahead and thumbs down because we suck. And that's exactly why you want to subscribe, so you can watch us make asses of ourselves and post it online and make fun of us. Because that's what cool people do. Well, bully people. Well, check out our last episode about that.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, hang out to the end of this episode and the last episode, because there's different songs at the end of every single pre-recorded episode. Who else does that, really?
Nobody.
Yeah. So, you know how to find our music. It's down in the description. So what would you like to ramble on about tonight?
Aliens. I just noticed that I have the Ancient Aliens guy hair kind of going on right now. So I figured it's aliens. And you have my permission to use that as a meme if you want to. I don't know. I don't quite look quite like him yet. Got to get a little more hair, but sorry. I guess the aliens are controlling my mind, and I'm kind of losing it. Anyway, I was thinking we should do, since the last video that we did was a little bit lengthy, we should probably do something a little more short. So how about a lightning round?
Oh yeah, lightning round.
Oh yeah. So for those who don't know, lightning rounds, we take all of our main kind of like categories that we have, that we talk about, divvy them up. We don't know what the other person's going to bring up to the table until the very last one. And we have 5 minutes to talk about it. And after 5 minutes, we go on to the next thing, regardless of whether we're in the middle of saying something or not. Well, sometimes we
we're pretty good about sticking to that.
Yeah. We go a little over sometimes. Not as bad as minute microscopies.
It's an episode packed with like 9 cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm. Which actually a lot of them end up turning into full episodes. So, if you're left feeling a little bit of like psychological mental blue balls, I guess, you'll get your finish eventually.
Yeah, just say something in the comments about what you want us to expound upon.
Yeah,
we shall expound. Expound.
Expound. I think. Yeah.
Expendle. Expialidocious.
That was exactly what I was gonna say. Oh man. We're slowly kind of becoming like a hive mind now. Yeah.
Well, before we become the Borg, I believe you're the first up with current events.
Current events. Yep. Okay. So let's see. All right. So recently there was like a Russian satellite that kind of busted apart and threw a bunch of stuff potentially in the path of the ISS. And now there's also SpaceX launching all of the Starlink satellites, and like they're going to launch more. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff floating around up there. And it's already a huge problem. So I think we should talk about space junk.
Well, okay. So the thing about space is there's a lot of space, and like we recently did an episode on autonomous vehicles that kind of morphed into like flying vehicles, and we talked about how much that would improve traffic, because I mean, you go from a two-dimensional surface to a three-dimensional like volume, and you have so much more potential space to occupy. So
it's an exponent essentially. But
given that, I do understand gravity and orbits and things like that, and like, unless you've equipped all these things with, which I'm sure you have in most cases, but unless they have like some kind of thrusters to like move them if they need to be moved, it might get a little crowded in certain altitudes, I guess. I don't know the right word. It's so far out, but like
well, if I remember, and if I don't, well, you can Google that. There's a map kind of like showing Earth and all of the stuff floating around, because a lot of it's tracked, even down to like flecks of paint. Anything that's known is tracked, because even that little fleck of paint or a little tiny screw off of something, traveling as fast as things are,
bust a hole in something.
Huge amount of damage. So they keep track of that stuff. But if you see this map, it's like this haze of particles surrounding the Earth, of all of this stuff. And it's not like far away. I mean, obviously you're looking at this map from, on your screen, you see the Earth like that. And obviously that's not as big as the Earth is. So it seems a lot more dramatic than it is. It's not actually that risky, but it is kind of risky. And the more we put stuff up there, the more of a problem it's going to be. And there actually, I think somebody's got a plan to build some kind of vehicle to sort of like collect all this stuff together. I don't know if they're going to bring it back or just kind of collect it and sit, but like a big space scoop, essentially, like a poop scoop, basically.
So I don't know a whole lot about how satellites work, but is it really necessary that there be proprietary satellites for everything? Like, couldn't they, or at least some applications, like share satellites just to conserve space up there?
Probably. I don't know that that's been done. I think, well, there are multi-purpose satellites for sure.
But use different frequencies or whatever, and I don't see how it could be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, space is the only like volume, launch volume, and weight and stuff is the main issue there. So something like the Hubble telescope, which has to direct itself to point at things, can't necessarily be a communication satellite.
No, but I'm talking about like existing satellites, like you said, Starlink satellites or whatever. Well, like, why can't they be GPS satellites and satellite radio satellites?
Actually, the Starlink probably could be. That could kind of be like the new GPS, and being like lower orbit. The time to send and receive signals and the amount of power required is greatly improved. I'm honestly like, I don't know. Well, Starlink's already a thing throughout part of the world, so I'm like super stoked about it. That like, for somebody that wants to live on a boat and sail around the world, like having internet like anywhere is really cool. It's a cool idea, and they're not the only ones. It's not just Starlink. There's a couple other companies working on similar things, but that does kind of present the problem. Like, well, how many of these satellites are we going to have? Like, if you're launching, are you is there a possibility that you might collide with one? I mean, that would
you
be
can see one on any given night without clouds. Like, there's always satellites flying around.
There are, and that's the thing. It's like, but the thing is, there's stuff you can't see that could be deadly, or destructive to some expensive piece of equipment. Like if it hits Hubble or something, like, well, nobody dies, but that kind of that's a shitty day, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
well, that's time.
Hmm.
I feel like there could be a lot more we could do on that one, but you know,
Yeah, that's a good one.
it's that could be like its own episode, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess we're on to you, and that would be religion.
Ah, religion. Yes. So, you got the
Otherwise,
timer.
French for religion, right? Yeah, I got the timer. I'll start once you state the whatever we're talking about.
All right. Well, this is less of a topic and more of a question, but like, what would you do if you were God?
Oh shit. Well, the first thing I would do is I would get rid of yellow jackets. That's what I would do. I don't know. Oh man. It Jesus. I think I would. Well, if I were God, I'd already know everything. I was gonna say explore and just be like snap my fingers like the Q and just go transport myself to some other place and check it out. Some other place or time.
You may not be able to explore that which already exists, but you do still have the capacity for imagination to create
That's true.
new things, right? You know,
Yeah.
Theoretically. I guess
Well, I mean,
that's
if
how it
you're
works.
assuming, let's assume like the traditional meaning of God, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Geez, that is a huge thing. What do you think about that? Like, what would you do?
Well, I think for starters, I would make myself known to all the inhabitants of planets with sentience, not just humans, but like wherever out in the cosmos there's life that could comprehend my existence, and I would try to help them. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of our stories have this huge plot hole in them where this supposedly benevolent god being lets a bunch of horrible shit happen. And it's like, if that's really the case, if there's like an all-powerful being, like, I mean, there's something to be said for a negative experience shaping character,
Mm-hmm.
but how's it going to shape your character if it kills you? Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. And I would say like helping people to a limited capacity, and maybe giving people, feeding them a little bit of information from time to time if it seems like they're lagging behind, but not so much. Like, I don't think it would do any good if, let's say, God just descended in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and was like, "Here I am. What do you want to know?" and just answered everybody's questions like that.
I guess there's a prime directive element to it.
Yeah. Like, maybe there's something to be said for the progress rather than like leaping forward because somebody gives you the answer. But certainly, yeah, you're right. Like keeping people alive.
But say you're a god and you don't have the answers. Say all you've done is be some kind of immortal being that your science experiment happened to like create sentient life, and you're like, whoops. I guess
actually that's kind of an interesting point. Like, wouldn't that be funny? If you ask God like any given question and God's like, well, I don't know. Like, how would that change religion?
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Or hey, can you do that? And God's like,
what was here before us? Fuck if I know. I was on the other end of the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, being up front,
I smell a movie.
Yeah, I do too. I think that would clarify a lot of things because honestly, like, if there is a god or multiple gods, the lack of knowledge of said gods creates all kinds of unnecessary conflict and death and destruction. Like everybody fighting over whose god is better, kind of like you do in middle school. Like, well, my dad could kick your dad's ass.
Yeah.
Like it. So yeah, like just making an appearance would make a huge difference.
Well, there you go. You could just settle all these holy wars by being like, you were all wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yep.
None of you got even close.
Not even close. Yeah, that's true. Oh man.
Like that's what we need, really.
We do. Yeah. Oh man.
Like even if aliens came to visit, even if they weren't what we consider God, they really should just pretend like they are, just to shut us the hell up. Like,
yeah, exactly. Just to sort all that stuff out. This is like a movie in the making. That would be.
I think I wrote a short story a long time ago.
Oh shit.
Well, now people will have to wait to find out.
Yeah. Well, short story. We'll have to come back to that one, I think. Or maybe it's going to be a movie. You never know.
Yeah.
So, excuse me.
Maybe a KSM movie.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So I think it'd be my turn now.
It is.
All right.
Tis thouest turnest.
So I guess I got public health and safety. So here we go. Straw bans.
Straw bans?
Like banning straws.
Oh, I thought you said bands like a bunch of straws up on stage with guitars. And I'm like,
maybe I should have said that. That would have been interesting.
I was like, is this something between a logical fallacy and the straw bands are pretty annoying. These paper straws that like disintegrate as soon as your Coke touches it.
Yeah.
And it never even gets up your nose. I mean, Coca-Cola, it never even gets in your mouth.
What kind of Coke are you drinking?
It's really dumb because like I get that like animals get fucked up from this shit, and it's like, but the problem isn't the existence of straws. The problem is the mishandling of the waste.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that goes with everything, like plastic bags and stuff like that. All the little soda can rings and everything. Yeah, like that stuff should never be in the ocean, which is where I think most of the harm is caused. And
yeah, straws
are not, they're not, and they never were a problem. In fact, I think all of that, I haven't really dug too deeply, but the whole motivation behind all these straw bans was some like middle school kids science project or something, where he called a bunch of places and asked how many straws they sold, and just kind of like extrapolated that and said, oh, yep, that's how many straws are getting thrown out every year, which it's not really, that's not science. That's just conjecture. And you know, there's, I don't think there's really a lot of data on the harm caused by straws. Honestly, there's a lot better things we could be putting our energy into than straws, because straws work. That's the thing. The replacement straws suck. They absolutely suck. Those paper straws and stuff. And now Taco Time has it right. Taco Time, almost all of their stuff is commercially compostable.
Well, yeah, but it's mangled, like fucked up, like super sharp. You'll give yourself like a paper cut on your mouth from their straws. And like compostable flatware like melts in hot food. So like, what good is it other than salad? You know?
Yeah.
So stuff like that is it's like I get the intent and stuff, but you know, like instead of straws, why not make lids like coffee cups have? Like, why does coffee have to be the only thing that you can sip? Why
Yeah,
not
well,
put
like,
those on your sodas?
Starbucks has those sippy cup type coffee cups.
Yeah.
Like, just do that with sodas. No, I do find
Or have a straw built into a lid, just a short stubby straw instead of like something that could easily go down the throat of an animal. A big old lid is not gonna fuck with an animal.
Yeah, if it were like all integrated, then the straw would be inseparable from the lid. Now, I do find it a bit hypocritical that a lot of these companies will not have straws, but everything else is plastic.
Yeah.
Like, Starbucks, like, oh, you don't have straws. They got the sippy cup things, but they're fucking plastic cups.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Would you like a stopper?
Yeah. Now something Starbucks did that I do like is they had like these biodegradable, reusable cups that you could buy. They were fairly cheap, and they work really
stuff
well.
is compostable too, right?
I don't know about all of it. Most people don't put that's the thing. It's like it's commercially compostable. You have to bring it to a place that has a process to handle it. Now, if you throw it in the garbage, probably it'll sit around for a while, and that's still a huge problem. I mean, we should probably do an episode about recycling, because that drives me up the wall. Like, recycling is not what you think it is. You're not saving the planet because you put stuff in a particular bin. It's
as Penn and Teller would say, it's bullshit.
It really is.
And they did an episode on that.
They did. And they actually got a bunch of people. They gave them like 12 bins to put like really specific things into. And people did. And it shows that their heart's in the right place. They're trying. But but the outcome isn't what they think it will be.
Sure it's not set for 4 minutes, because
it was 5. These go really fast. Like, they're really fun.
Yeah.
Oh man. Huh. Okay. So I think it would be on to you now.
Yeah. All right. So given that we just had a deep intellectual conversation about the environment and things like that, the category of tomfoolery,
perfect follow-up,
is just as important question to ponder. And the question I put forth is, does size matter?
Ooh, wait, size in what regard?
I think you know what I mean.
Oh, well, I know. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that kind of thing. Well, actually my coworker and I were talking about this the other day, and he was like watching some video or something that was talking about a study done where they asked a whole bunch of women what their preferred size was, and it's all regional. Mm-hmm. Some people like the thing is, most of the people in the regions they interviewed preferred kind of the average size for that region. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess it's kind of bragging rights, maybe, if
it's a peacocking thing.
Yeah, if you got a big wanger or something like that. But like there are people who do like that. But I think the average person doesn't. In fact, he was saying like a bunch of women in Asian countries were saying, oh yeah, if he's too big, then it hurts. So it's like, well, unless you're into the pain thing,
yeah,
that's not good.
I've come across that many times. It is actually kind of like a disappointment.
Yeah.
But exactly. It's not just big though, because like you have to consider the other end of the spectrum too. Like if it's too small, there's I don't think I've heard any stories of women being like, yeah, it was great how small it was,
yeah. That's true.
So in that aspect, I don't think you necessarily need to have like a bratwurst, right? But like to just have a rather sad knob, as Crichton might say. That kind of does put you at a disadvantage in the evolutionary gene pool, I think.
Yeah, I think it does. And
I mean, maybe not. I mean, obviously these guys are getting laid if there's stories to be told of it, right? So,
well, it's not just getting laid, it's getting laid repeatedly, like somebody wanting to do that all the time.
yeah. Well, that may not be happening. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I guess
and it only takes once to reproduce. So the genes keep going.
It can only take once.
I mean, yeah, but
yeah, exactly.
At minimum or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess the hopeful message for guys that are not quite like us, Scandinavians, yeah. The being average, like that's your best bet for your culture, for your region, things like that.
Yeah, now, believe me, being big is not that great because some people are scared of it.
Yeah. Well, I pass out whenever I get hard. No, just kidding. Yeah, no, it's hard from the standpoint of like the US or this globalized world. I guess it's difficult because in the US there's a lot of cultures from all over the world. It's kind of like Deep Space Nine or Babylon 5 or something. Like those both have numbers in them. That's kind of weird. Where's Deep Space 8? Anyway, but the US has all these different cultures. So if you're trying to like date or find a mate or something, it can get really difficult because everybody has different preferences and you never know. So it's so I guess in that respect, size does matter. Like not bigness, but just correctness.
Yeah.
Like both people's parts match up, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, I mean, and to an individual, I think it does matter just because of all that, right? I mean, while it is in essence kind of peacocking, there is an evolutionary basis to all this. It's not just aesthetic. I mean, it's not shallow at all, actually. Like it's perfectly valid to consider that appendage, let's say, as something that's attractive or not.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's time. That was a good way to end it. I think, I think we handled that without too much giggling. It's one of those
straight
things,
into smirk mode.
Like, it's one of those things. Like it doesn't matter how old you get. Like guys, farts and dicks. Like just people are like, oh man, grow up. Okay, so I guess it'd be on to me. And my category is politics.
The politics of dancing.
I wish we could throw that in there, but YouTube's copyright algorithm stuff.
Yeah.
So, okay. What do you think about women in the draft?
They aren't in the draft, are they?
No.
Yeah. I think that's pretty dumb because they're allowed to enlist or become an officer. So why not be, on the list to be called up for
selective service, I think is the
I was trying to think of the chosen euphemism for like forced to die for your country. But it was escaping me. The draft in itself is a lot of bullshit, I think.
It is. It really is. We could go on all day about like the legitimacy of that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you want everybody to be equal, that's one of the things that's a distinctly male thing. Now, granted, I don't know that it's active right now, but it still exists. And I suppose if there was like some kind of, I mean, like they're not actively drafting people,
right?
But if something comes
up, make you sign up. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
When
And
you're like
and
18 or whatever.
yeah, so why not women? Like that
That's
would
a good
be
point.
equality, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm all for that. Honestly, like now I have my ideas about, I have my thoughts about the military in general, a standing army, like, but
Yeah.
if we have one, we should all be treated equally. Like the whole population
Yeah.
should serve. And that actually brings up like a whole different angle about like just women in infantry. Because people are like, oh, they're okay if women are like pilots or desk jobs or that kind of thing. But I've talked to a lot of people, soldiers included, who say, oh yeah, if there's women on the front lines and stuff, it's going to cause all kinds of problems.
See, that's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, and we also need to do an episode on feminism, probably with a guest, of course, because otherwise we'll be, pounced upon. But there is a certain bullshit element to feminism where they only want equality with like the nice stuff,
The good
like
stuff. Yeah.
they
like,
don't want to take the hard stuff too. And it's like, I don't really see a whole lot of, or hear a whole lot of flack about exactly what we're talking about now, like the stuff that's, not so pleasant. Like going to war and dying for your country. Like there's no major push to get the women up on the front lines from the feminist crowd. And that's equality.
It is. And a lot of countries do that. Russia, Israel, as examples, like their women and men serve together.
I mean, that makes fucking sense. I mean, there are physiological differences between men and women. That doesn't mean there's a weakness there. It means there's different ways to exploit their strengths.
Yeah.
Women are going to be more agile or faster.
Hidden advantages that we haven't realized.
Yeah. More cunning, perhaps, like whatever it is, there's a benefit to be garnered from having women on the front lines.
Oh, for sure. And given our angle towards like things being more technological and things like that, physical strength is really not a thing anymore for the most part. I mean, I guess it kind of comes into play, but it kind of doesn't. If you can shoot a gun, if you can drive a tank, like, or fly an attack helicopter or whatever, like that's good enough.
Yeah. I mean, I get like if it gets down to hand, it's good to be prepared for that and stuff, but
sure. But when does that actually happen?
Well, I mean, even then, like, I mean, I've trained with women in my dojo and stuff, and they can throw my ass on the ground. Like, there's absolutely nothing stopping a woman from being just as deadly a weapon in hand-to-hand combat as a man.
Sure, exactly. It's technique,
physics, like
knowledge.
The whole idea of judo or jujitsu, like using the opponent's force against them, that's physics, and it totally works.
Yeah, I this is something there's a couple things we should probably talk about here, like a lot of interesting angles. I'm like totally in favor. I think women should be in the same places as men if they want to be.
Yep.
Well,
the draft isn't so much about what you want, but yeah, I guess.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. That's true. Well, okay, so I guess
beer 3.
All right.
It's one of my favorites too. Well, I'm not going to say until they become sponsors.
Well, if you hold it up, maybe it'll encourage them to sponsor us.
Yeah, maybe it will.
Well, you got to turn that a little bit. Rotate that. Oh, there we go. Nice. Oh, yeah. And again, if Elysian wants to sponsor, you don't have to give us money, just beer.
Maybe some swag. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
so it's on to you, and that's science.
Yes. She blinded me with science.
Yet again, I wish I could throw that song in there, but no.
We got like a song for every category. Someday when we're filthy rich, right?
Yeah,
Anyway.
when the channel's big. Yeah. Okay, so science.
So, there was recently a story about, and I'm really glad that they're finally starting to do some research into this method and this disease. But there was a guy with type 1 diabetes that was cured of it, supposedly, at least in all appearances, from embryonic stem cells.
Ooh.
So, I mean, like, what's your thoughts on embryonic stem cells?
Well, I think there's a lot of potential there, and we should definitely explore that. Now, I don't know exactly the entire process behind how those things are acquired, and that goes into all kinds of different tangents, I guess. But I think like we should be using it.
Well, okay, so the misconception that it comes from like aborted babies or something is total bullshit. So in the phase of development, embryonic stem cells are what we call pluripotent. I'm going to try to truncate this. And that means they can turn into pretty much anything except the placenta, basically. Okay. Because they've differentiated so up to a certain point. And that comes by like the blastocyst stage, at which point you won't even be aware that you're, fertilized. You're not even technically pregnant yet because it hasn't implanted into the uterus.
Yeah.
So like the only way to get these is a test tube, situation. It's not even a test tube baby because it doesn't even get that far. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you're not a viable embryo yet, I don't think anyone could argue that that's life. Like, there are people that say life begins at conception, but like, is conception really the sperm and the egg, or is it when it becomes like attached and begins taking nutrients?
Yeah. And then like that brings up a lot of other questions. Like if that's life and that should be saved, like, well, why don't we save all this other stuff?
Yeah.
Why would you say like masturbate into a towel or something? Isn't that life too?
Yeah. But so there are further stages of stem cells that we currently use that are completely like not bioethically questionable, like the ones that saved my life, which were, hematopoietic, they call it. It's from your blood, basically. But they can only create so many things because they've differentiated too far. Now, the way that the pancreas islet cells that produce insulin were produced for this patient had to come from embryonic stem cells because that's the only way to like effectively hit that point in your development, So like if we want to cure diabetes, we have a way of doing it. It is ethical if you move past all the politics.
Yeah.
And the religion, let's face it.
Exactly. Well, and some would say the two are intertwined. Well, and I've heard a lot of promising things coming out of like stem cell therapy for all kinds of stuff. It's like this might kind of be like the magic bullet to cure almost everything.
Fucking paralysis could be fixed.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Reeve was all about embryonic stem cell research, and his wife, who tragically has died also of cancer, which maybe there's potential for cancer too,
True. Like, no, maybe there will come a day if we're open to studying this, there may come a day where all of this can be synthesized in the lab. Like we don't need to do it the old fashioned dirty way. We could do it like 3D printing kind of stuff. I see that coming. Like Star Trek future is kind of on the horizon, honestly.
I mean, in a cloning aspect, like if cloning technology were used in that capacity, I think that's totally possible.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because you're talking about pretty simplistic cell structures at that phase, right? So I don't think cloning something that simple would be that hard.
No, it wouldn't be. And it opens the door to so many.
You could even combine embryonic stem cell cloning with CRISPR and augment your body.
Oh shit, better. CRISPR, dude. Oh man, you should have brought that up. Oh man. Oh yeah. This is what a time to be alive. Like, holy shit. Imagine if we transported somebody from the dark ages here and we're like, hey, this is what we can do now. They'd be like, you're gods.
Yeah, seriously.
We are akin to gods at this point.
Curing diseases
AI that and stuff like that. Machine learning, like that's a good one. Oh man,
these lightning rounds, man, they just keep getting better.
Oh god, every time I think, like, can we just, like, if I just change the 5 minutes to 10, we wouldn't be the wiser.
Well, then it would be like a 2-hour episode.
But in the moment we wouldn't know, because it literally feels like 2 minutes went by.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's on to me now. Man, that's a tough one to follow up on, because damn, that was good. So the category is economy or economics, whichever. So all right. How about this? One world currency.
The New World Order.
The New World Order. Ashcroft. I mean, I think it's inevitable that eventually there will be, and there probably should be. Currently, it's the US dollar, which is kind of a shitty currency to use to trade in, but it's what exists. That's kind of,
it's not truly like one world though. Like,
no,
it's not like that's all there is. And
no, and it is like, considering, like, historically, from a historic standpoint, this is as close as we've gotten to a one world currency, but it's a terrible one.
Well, yeah, it is. So, and that's probably because there are other currencies that exist that compete with it. So it's like,
well, wait, if it's terrible because of that, or
not, because if you're going to have one currency, there's a lot to go into here.
Well, let me just
I feel like that if everyone was dependent on the same currency and there were no others, there would be no incentive to fuck it up. Like, there'd be no way to fuck it up, really.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I wouldn't say that people are dependent on currency. I think that people choose to trade in it, or it's their preferred method of trade. In my view, it's
convenient. But
well, yeah, the reason the US dollar is fucked up is because it's a fiat currency, one, and it's controlled by central banking in the US only. That's
actually a credit currency, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's considered fiat. There's nothing backing it, essentially, and it's limitless, as we've seen in the last year.
That's what credit currency is too. So
yeah, I mean, maybe the terms could be used interchangeably.
Yeah.
I think there should be a world currency at this point, given how interconnected people are. Yeah. There should be something common that everybody can use to exchange. No matter where you are, you can exchange goods and services. My belief is that ultimately will become crypto, and there are many, many countries who don't want that because they want that control. How many wars have been fought to prop up the US dollar?
If they want to, there's going to be a way to control crypto, and they'll find it. And whatever, like, if there is a one world, like, if you think borders are bullshit, you probably ought to be thinking a one world currency is a good idea. Because we are one world. Like, it's not like this is a novel idea that we should all work together to help each other. And
that's not to say there can't be some localized exchanges where you have your own currency, But in general, from a world trade standpoint, I'd like to see something completely different, completely outside the domain of any given country.
I mean,
And crypto is that thing.
You'd still have regional economy, right?
Yeah.
Like
You always
metropolitan
do.
areas are going to be more expensive,
Even
like
in prison, economies emerge on their own, like naturally in prison of all places. So yeah, you're still going to have something. But yeah, having something kind of standardized, and I don't mean an official sort of thing. So it's more like I believe it's going to happen on its own. That the planet will eventually have their own kind of credit system.
Well, here's the question: if it were a one world currency, do you think it should be like held to a gold standard? Or something like that.
Well, and that's where crypto is good, because you can have finite quantities, which is what essentially the gold standard is, which makes it maintain its value like fairly stably over time.
But couldn't that theoretically be adjusted?
Depends on the algorithm. Now gold, obviously you can discover more gold, so that could change the value.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden we're like, oh, wow, there's like 50 million tons of gold that we found. Like, okay, but all of a sudden,
the natural creation of it does depend on time and certain pressures and environmental variables that are quite rare, right?
Well, yeah, but economies. Oh shit!
Hey,
I was going to talk about Venezuela and Dash, but that's okay. That should almost be another episode too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, God, fuck! How do we do this? How are we drinking so much beer yet?
That reminds me, a friend of ours would like to come on and talk about anarchy at one point.
Oh, nice.
So,
right on.
That just reminded me for some reason.
A fellow anarchist or somebody who doesn't like it?
Someone on the fence.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Well, we could do an episode about that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
So,
it's on to you.
Speaking of the world, let's go into conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy. It's aliens.
Well, maybe. The topic I'd like to discuss is, what do you think of the idea that religion was all a conspiracy?
Ooh, like perhaps, maybe
and I mean, everyone's heard the saying that religion was created to control the masses, right?
Well, it might have been. And back in the day, people who knew things, who the astronomers who studied the paths of stars and patterns in the sky and stuff, they could be like, oh yeah, there's going to be an eclipse coming up, and they could use that to manipulate people.
Those type of people at some point in our history were burned as heretics, or witches or whatever, like
that's true.
The idea of science was like squashed by religion.
Yeah.
It was a powerful force at one point, like more than we can imagine now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was all just a tool for a small amount of people. We see this today with money, but back then it was personal views. I want my personal views to be the way the world is. I'm going to concoct this story of an all-powerful God that's kind of pissy if you don't do what he says.
Yeah. And
people fell for it.
And that does seem to be a pattern in many, many cultures. And maybe it's something ingrained in us, this kind of like desire to seek answers to things. And if somebody provides an answer, we might be inclined to believe it if we're ignorant and don't know any better. And
it's like Santa Claus,
if
you're naughty, you won't get presents. It's tool control.
kind of a or Elf on the Shelf kind of thing, that in the same vein. Yeah, and well, and I think people tend to defer to authority or presumed authority, and the elders, right? They must know best. And no, your elders are like ingesting peyote and stuff. They're fucking high all the time. They don't know any better than you do. But it just sounds good. Well, that is possible. Yeah. There's the whole theory that a lot of the world's culture was built off of mind-altering substances like LSD,
untapped potential that's
opened
up suddenly,
peyote and stuff like that. Like that, it's no surprise that a lot of the world's cultures ingested in some form or another mind-altering substances like hallucinogens and stuff. And maybe those things kind of are intertwined. Like if you've experienced dissociatives or other similar hallucinogens, like there's this kind of weird otherworldly feeling, like aliens and beings out there. And yeah, like if you don't understand it, it's easy to think that is real. So I don't know. Maybe it's not really like a deliberate conspiracy, but an accidental one. It's entirely possible.
I mean,
at least in the beginning. At least in the beginning. Like maybe as time went on, like nobody, people didn't go to the shamanistic angle, but they just simply kept on going with the patterns that have happened before. And went with it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is kind of like an accidental sort of propagation of the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody concocted all this. Somebody went to the trouble of writing a bunch of texts in various different situations. Like there was an actual concerted, like premeditated attempt to control the masses. And then people just ran with it as if it were gospel truth.
Well, I don't know that it began that way. I think it might have begun much more innocently, and then it took a foothold and got more powerful, and then lost sight of the past, and then became a tool for control because it was easy to control people at that point.
If you work off the assumption that there is no God, though, somebody at some point had to knowingly lie to other people. This story.
Well, that I totally agree. That's exactly how I think it happened. But shit, that's a good one. Oh man, like every one of these, like we could just keep on going. You should have just made it like 10 minutes. Yeah, man, and we're down to the last one.
Man,
shit.
Like if we ever try this live, we should allow the audience to like just one time throughout the episode be like another 5 minutes, like keep going.
Roll back the timer. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, I think that's a good idea. Well, and eventually we'll get to the point where we could do this live and have people commenting that like, hey, keep going on that one, that's good.
Yeah.
But I do think like keeping it to maybe one topic is good. And then upvoting like, okay, do an episode about that thing.
Yeah.
Because I think we're going to do an episode about like almost everything we talked about.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we've come to the last topic.
Sadly. Yeah. But that's okay. This was a very good episode.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So it's one that we both know, and that would be philosophy. So do you want to state the top or the subject, I guess, or should I?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and state the philosophy question.
All right.
Would you change the past if you could?
Yes. Yes, I would. I had to think about that one for a second. Actually, no, I don't think so, because like we did the episode on the butterfly effect, and there's so many variables that affect the outcome of things that like it may seem like a really good idea to go back in time and make that one guy shoot Hitler in World War One, right? Like, oh yeah, that would fix it all.
That I feel like, by the way, has got to be like an old wives' tale, because like, how do you know who the enemy soldier was after the fact? Like, how is that identified?
Well, I don't know for sure. Well, I mean, he did actually look him in the face. So maybe he just realized that it was Hitler later. But that's the thing. It's like it seems like a really good idea. Oh yeah, you could just go back and change that. Like make sure that Hitler doesn't live. But what are the effects? Would we have nuked the planet as a result of that?
I gave this a lot of thought, and in the butterfly effect episode, I very much had the stance of, I don't want to change anything that makes me who I am now, right? Or I'm still alive, so I can't complain that much, right? But I started thinking, like, we don't know the parameters of time travel, should it even be possible. Now, if there were no like ramifications as far as like deletion of a timeline or splitting off of a timeline, or paradoxes of like two me's existing at the same time, if it was just my consciousness that went back in time with the knowledge I have now, I think I absolutely would change certain things. And I would not go back very far though, because like I don't necessarily want to change that much about my life, but like with recent shit that's happened to me, like I do kind of wish I could just erase it all.
yeah, and maybe that would actually be a reasonable thing. Just go back a little ways. Don't go back to your childhood and be like, oh yeah, that one decision.
Like hit reset to the last save point sort of thing.
Yeah, quick save. Essentially. Yeah. I think that's legit. Like that there probably won't be too much harm in that, especially if you could see the results of both, like all of the things you do, and kind of like, oh, what actually I thought that was a good idea, but it actually sucks even more. So I'm going to go back and do the thing that I thought sucked so that it doesn't suck so badly. But all of the effects, and if you go really far back in time, it touches everybody. Like one tiny thing could affect everybody, the whole planet. Like I said, by not killing Hitler, what if like some epic World War III started and the whole planet nuked, like everybody nuked each other?
Well, that's the thing. You gamble. You don't know what's going to happen. And here's the other thing. Like in the scenario I painted, where just your consciousness goes back with memory, whatever memory you're trying to erase from actually happening still happened in your memory.
That's true.
You will not forget it happening to you. The damage it did will always be there in that scenario.
Man.
Now, whatever real world ramifications happen to you, like legal problems or money problems or whatever, that would be erased. Yeah. But any kind of emotional scarring, you're stuck with it.
Well, yeah, especially if you still maintained your memories in your mind and stuff. Yeah.
But then you could also like memorize the lottery numbers and, like assuage some of that pain. So
that's true. Yeah. which could actually not be a good thing. Like the effects of ultimate knowledge in that regard could be a problem. Oh, damn it.
Damn.
Oh, I feel like we barely scratched the surface on that one. That's huge, because a lot of people totally would go back. They would be like, well, you just pick any terrible thing through history, or a good thing, or whatever. You make the terrible things go away, and the good things you amplify. I don't know that it's I mean, I don't know that it's the right thing to do. Being somebody who kind of ascribes to the simulation theory, I think that the struggle is more important than what's actually going on, like the outcome and stuff like that. It's the fact that life is actually difficult, and overcoming those adversities is what it's all about.
Yeah. But yeah, the scars are very real.
Oh, that's a song title if I ever heard one.
Indeed. Perhaps it will be.
Yeah, that would be nice. Oh,
Well,
man, that was wow. That was
as we always say, as this being the 12th lightning round, they just keep getting better.
They really do.
So just throw your ideas in the comments. Let us know what you'd like us to go into a little more detail about in a full episode. And
yeah,
which honestly, all of these could be full episodes.
They pretty much could be. Yeah. And I wish there was a way we could do something where viewers could submit something that only one of us could see, so that we could kind of like have viewer submitted lightning round questions. Well, there's a few viewers that I know personally, so that could happen. So, but it'd be nice if there was a way to do that, where it would be hidden from either of our views. We'll think of that.
Yeah, I like the live idea where people just surprise both of us.
Well, yeah, I'm totally down for that, as long as like it's something that we both kind of know a little bit about. And maybe the live one should be a little bit more time than 5 minutes to account for that. So it's like if one of us knows about something, we can explain it to the other person. Or whoever submitted it can explain, like, oh yeah, this is what.
Well, yeah, we could just start the timer after they finish explaining a little bit about it.
Yeah, because like your was it the science one? Like a good chunk of that was you explaining to me some biology stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So like if I already knew exactly what you were talking about and all the implications, like we could easily have a conversation just right off the bat.
Yeah.
So yeah, oh, man, it's gonna be
Well,
all right.
It's a work in progress. We will refine the lightning round into absolute perfection over time, but in the meantime, let us know what you love, what you hate, what you want to hear us banter about in the next lightning round.
Oh yeah, or the next full episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, choose the next full episode, perhaps based on this. I don't know. Yeah.
Man, we talked about space junk, being a god, fake straws,
the draft,
how big your junk is.
Oh man,
stem cells and
crypto and currencies, and religion
controlling people.
Yeah. Funny that you had religion and conspiracies, and your conspiracy was a religious topic. And nice move.
Yeah.
Well played, sir.
Well, yeah, it was. I think it worked.
No, it totally fit. Like it was good.
It's probably the oldest conspiracy there is.
It might be. Yeah. Huh. Well, I guess on that note, that's a good point to bid farewell to the viewers and wish them sweet dreams and all that stuff.
Thanks for deep sink diving with us into a lightning round.
Lightning round to like totally everything. Well, hope you enjoyed it, and enjoy the song. It's probably queuing up right now. Yeah, and have a good night, everybody.